Curt Menefee is here on the Rich Eisen Show. Very few people can share the feeling that I feel every single Sunday of trying to corral major league big-time personalities and keep things on the rails.
The key word is trying. Trying to corral. That's all we can do.
Well, I mean, but part of it is to make sure that it's as close to on the rails as possible.
Yes.
You want it all a little bit off the rails.
Exactly. You got to live on that edge just a little bit. I want to say thank you for having me here, because I've been around here. It feels like Valentine's Day, because you had Travis Kelce on, a guy who was wrapping up a reality show where he found the woman of his dreams, apparently.
Well, we're hoping.
Yeah, and then, you got the sexiest sportscaster alive, voted by People Magazine on. So I appreciate that, yes.
You heard that?
Yeah, I heard it as I was driving in. So thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah.
Curt, you're quite welcome.
You can be in the book Losing Isn't Everything for falling short to me. We'll do that in the next edition.
I did. You're right. I learned a very tough life lesson when I heard that on my own radio show.
It'll make you a better person.
I know. Great book, fun book. We'll talk about this book and obviously the National Football League and anything else that's on your mind. Curt Menefee is here on the Rich Eisen Show. Go get this book in the meantime. Take a look at it. Losing Isn't Everything. Al Michaels on the back of it. Barkley, Marv Levy, Mattingly.
Yeah. Those guys know a thing or two.
They do.
Yeah.
On both sides of the stick. No doubt about that. Joining me here is a man whose work I respect because he knows, just like I do, when you've got those big, huge Hall of Fame personalities on live TV, it's not easy to talk some football, which he does with aplomb every single Sunday on Fox, and he's got his new book out. That was the sound of Losing Isn't Everything hitting the desk. Curt Menefee. Good to see you, Curt. How are you?
Good to see you, Rich. It's unusual to run into you in a professional setting, because usually I think we've seen each other in restaurants.
Yes.
We've seen each other walk in the Strand down here in Manhattan Beach.
Yes.
It's usually a little bit more social, but this is good. I like this.
I'm glad that you are here as well.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Seriously.
No,
Thank
you bet. Why this book? Why would you want to write about the other side of these seminal sports moments?
Well, I think, look, like me, you've been around sports for a long time. I mean, I started covering sports when I was 19 years old. I've been host of Fox NFL Sunday for 11 years. I did local television for 20 years before that. Mm-hmm. And we've all been around these great sports moments where as soon as you bring it up, people remember where they were, they remember that moment.
Flashbulb moments.
But they always remember the winning side. And because we see those guys. I mean, you've got them on your desk, I've got them on my desk. The guys that win get TV careers, they get to go to Disneyland, they get all the accolades. But what happens to those that lost and that were that close in a lot of circumstances to being on the other side, to being on the winning side? And it wasn't just about that sports moment that I wanted to find out, because there is the story of what happened in the game or the series that led up to them losing, but also how it impacted their lives. Because again, we see how it impacts the winners, and we know the success that they have, a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of the people that lose, it turns out that this impacted them in many ways that we didn't even think of. Emotionally, some weren't able to continue their careers. Some had marriage issues because of it. They directly relate to it. Calvin Schiraldi's one. Craig Elo talks about going to drug rehab because he directly relates it to Michael Jordan hitting that shot over him. Jean Van de Vel, who's a French golfer, who blew the British Open.
Right.
He went the other way. He goes, hey, I'm French. I had a couple glasses of wine. A week later, I was able to make fun of it. But why did it impact some people so hard? And what lessons can we all learn from it? Because I think when we go through life, all of us, not every day is perfect. You either lose your job, or you have a bad day at work, or you have a bad day with the kids, and you got to find a way to kind of keep going. And these people, I think, have lessons that we can learn, because for most of them, that's what they're known for.
So then what'd you learn? What was the biggest lesson you learned by going through this endeavor in this book, Curt?
I think, first of all, the big thing is everybody handles it differently. I bring up Schiraldi because he's the one that's gotten the most response. Because the 1986 World Series, everybody goes back to Bill Buckner and that ball going through his legs, because we've seen that play a million times. But if you go back to that series, and people tend to forget with history, the more time that gets in between it, what actually happened, in Boston led that game. In the 8th inning, they bring in Schiraldi. He blows a 1-run lead. He's still in the game in the 10th inning, gets the first 2 outs, and then gives up 3 straight hits to blow a 2-run lead. So that sets the Buckner play into motion. He loses game 6. Goes into game 7 the next night, or 2 nights later because they had a rain delay. Comes in a 3-3 tie in the 7th inning. Gives up a home run to Ray Knight. Basically game over. He loses game 6 and 7. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy that we don't think about when we think of 86. Well, it bothered him. He only pitched in the majors 4 more years, retired at 29, said mentally he couldn't handle it. the next year on the road was too tough for him with the fans, with the media, and that he, in his turn, put up these walls. Those walls transferred from being at the stadium to at home and affected his home life. And finally, he, as I said, retired at the age of 29. Finally, 27 years later in 2013, his wife tells him, look, unless you go get help, we're essentially going to have to get a divorce. You're not the same guy I fell in love with. You're not the same guy you were before 86. And he admits that she was 100% right, that he was not involved in his kid's life. His father committed suicide right around that time, not because of 86. He had cancer. But he said that that showed him that he was on the same path his father was on, because his father put up these walls and hadn't dealt with some things that had gone on in his life. So he started seeking therapy, but he ties it all back into not handling 1986 the right way. And again, he's a guy we don't think of at all, but he carried that burden because he felt he let down his Red Sox teammates. In his words, Bill Buckner's taken a lot of bleep that he shouldn't have. He felt he let down Red Sox Nation. And you're like, wow, to carry that burden for that long. It's amazing. It really is.
So who's the guy? I'm here with Curt Menefee. Losing Isn't Everything, the untold stories and hidden lessons behind the toughest losses in sports history. Go get it right now in bookstores as well as online near you. Who's the guy that, or lady, that you reached out to said, I can't, just can't?
You know, there were a couple, and I don't want to hang them out there because a lot of them, because one of the things about the book, it was not just about the sporting event. It was about how it impacted their lives and their families.
I mean, my gosh, listen
a
to
lot
that story
of deeply personal things. Right.
Calvin Schiraldi.
And so I get some people going, hey, I don't want to share that with the world.
Right.
Or I don't want to go back there. And so there were a couple, but I will say about 75% of the people that I reached out to said yes, because I approached them from the standpoint of this is not rehashing what happened that moment.
We're not throwing you under the bus.
Right, exactly. What can we learn out of it, and what can people get out of something negative that happened to you that you either turned it around or had to deal with? And so it took some trust issues to build it to the point where it turned out to be a book, because everybody I interviewed in the book, the first time was in person, always, except Jean Van de Velde, who was in Paris. And my co-writer, Michael Arkush, did him because it was during football season. I couldn't go. So he did him in person, but every other one was in after being in person the first time, then follow-ups on the phone, emails, text messages, those kind of things if you had something specific. And the more you talked to them, obviously, the more they trusted you and the more they saw where you were going, the more revealing they were.
It's a fascinating idea, man. I mean, and it's remarkable that no one's really ever thought about doing that before.
Well, thank you. And I don't want to paint it that everyone was miserable either. You know, I think they all wanted to win, and they all were at some point. You know, Rodney Harrison is a great example of. He's a guy who was on that Patriot team. He's on the David Tyree catch. Every time you see the catch, the helmet catch, he's the defender, and he talks about he had won 2 Super Bowls at that point. You think it wouldn't bother him that much. But because the Patriots were going for a perfect season, 2 things. One, he feels he made a physical mistake by not being able to break that play up. He said he actually thought he broke it up. He thought he swatted the ball away until Steve Smith, the Giants wide receiver, saying, get off him, good catch. He said, I look down and I go, what? And I see he has the ball. So physically he didn't make the play, and he was used to making the play. The mental aspect of it happened 4 plays later on the touchdown pass to Plexico Burress. Dean Pease, who's the defensive coordinator for the Patriots at the time, calls in a blitz. He says when they line up, he looks over, he sees 5'9" Ellis Hobbs lined up against 6'5" Plexico Burress. He goes, I know, I've been in the league 14 years, that we got no shot. So being the leader of the defense and calling the defense, he says, let's call it off. We're not going to run it. Junior Seau, who's the linebacker on that team, said, no, let's run it. He goes, no, we're not running it. Seau goes, no, let's run it. And he said he let Junior Seau convince him to run it only because of his respect and admiration for Junior. Junior had not won a Super Bowl and never did, obviously. But when he came in, Rodney, with the San Diego Chargers, 5th round pick, didn't play his rookie year a whole lot. Junior was the guy who saw something in him and took him under his wing and helped him develop into a Pro Bowl player. So he respected him so much that he allowed him to call off the blitz when he knew, or not call off the blitz when he knew he should have. He said if that had been Teddy Bruschi, any other player, I would have said no, because I know better. But I wanted Junior to have this opportunity. And he said as soon as Eli threw the ball, he knew it was a touchdown. So he made a physical and a mental mistake. And it took him a while to get over it because he felt that he knew that play never should have happened.
Fantastic stories. Curt Menefee here on the Rich Eisen Show. Before we send you back off to the world of Fox and everything else going on, ask him the poll question. Brockman, go for it on our Rich Eisen Show app, on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Who's the best team in the NFL, Curt? Dallas, New England, Seattle, Oakland, Kansas City.
The best team today
Right now, you and I sitting here.
is the Dallas Cowboys.
You got to say it.
I mean,
You getting ready to broadcast the NFC Championship game from there? Because that's what it looks like right now.
it sure does. But I tell you what, though, watch out for Seattle.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Watch out for Seattle.
I just wondering because the Seahawks at 6-2-1. Where's the Cowboys' 2 losses going to come from if the Seahawks win out? Right?
Yeah, but let me ask you this: do you think that Seattle can't win on the road?
Oh no,
In the
no, no.
playoffs.
Well, that's their MO.
Right.
Essentially, is winning. Where obviously we own the 12s are one thing. They've won on the road in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think so. I think if they go into the playoffs, if they get this offensive line straightened out, which it looks like they might be on the cusp of it, they can win anywhere. So by the end of the season, they may be the best, but it's hard to pick against the way Dallas is rolling right now.
I know. The thing I love about Pete Carroll is the always compete, and he means it. How many times you hear from coaches saying that this is my mantra, and then, well, we'll do something else with this guy, do something else with that guy. Yeah. Half the team, I know this is an exaggeration, unrestricted free agents, undrafted people.
Yeah. Well, even this year, they've got, I believe the number was 14 rookies on this team. How many teams at that level? We talk about, Cleveland is bad because they've got 18 rookies.
Sure.
Seattle's got 14, and they may be the best team in football by the end of the season. Pete Carroll's in the book as well, talking about that loss to the Patriots 2 Super Bowls ago when he made the call down at the goal line, and about how he tried to get his team to respond so that they could be good for the future because he knew how young they were and didn't want that to devastate them going forward.
Okay, losing isn't everything. Go get it right now. Perfect stocking stuffer. Yeah, happy holidays. Let's learn some hard life lessons. But it's neat stuff. Losing isn't everything. Curt Menefee right here. Good luck.
Thank you so
Down
much.
the road with this book and everything else going on.
Appreciate it.
You got it. That's
all right, brother.
You got it. That's
Thank
Curt
you.
Menefee right here.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.